Welcome to the electronic archive of presentations from Performance Incentives, the growing impact on American K-12 education, a national conference hosted at Peabody College of Vanderbilt University in 2008. The conference was sponsored by the National Center on Performance Incentives, a research and development center funded in part by the U.S. Department of Education's Institute of Education Sciences. You are watching a video presentation from Professor Matthew G. Springer, a research assistant professor of public policy and education at Vanderbilt University's Peabody College, on the impact of the Teacher Advancement Program on student test score gains.
My presentation today will report findings from a study I've been doing with two colleagues at Vanderbilt University, Dale Ballou and Art Peng. Our study assesses the impact of the Milk and Family Foundation's Teacher Advancement Program on student test score gains in mathematics. The Teacher Advancement Program, or TAP by acronym, is a comprehensive school reform model that's designed to attract highly effective teachers, improve instructional effectiveness, and elevate achievement. Although TAP has been around for nearly a decade, it gained considerable attention in the last couple of years. This is attributed in part to increased focus of policy on teacher compensation reform, reports suggesting positive TAP treatment effects on student outcomes, as well as favorable teacher and principal attitudes toward the program. In addition, TAP figured prominently in the 2006 announcement of the Teacher Incentive Fund, a federally enacted grant program that funds development and implementation of principal and teacher performance programs. Of the approximate $240 million that was awarded during the fall of 2006, nearly 37% of those funds went to districts and states that proposed to implement TAP. The literature on the effectiveness of TAP is slender. We know of only 3 studies that have analyzed the impact of TAP on student outcomes, all of which were conducted or commissioned by the Milk and Family Foundation. As shown in this slide, these studies report generally positive findings across a variety of outcomes of interest, including teacher and school value-added effect estimates, student achievement gains, and school report cards. One shortcoming with the prior research on TAP is that none of the studies appear to find an appropriate comparison group, a critical issue in program evaluation. The process schools go through to select into TAP raises the possibility that TAP schools are distinctive schools. To illustrate, I borrow a remark from Mathematica Policy Research report that characterizes the TAP selection process as competitive, and oftentimes the schools are hand-picked. This means that outcomes might have been different in TAP schools from non-TAP schools, with or without a TAP school actually implementing the program. Our work contributes to the existing research. To our knowledge, our study is the first third-party assessment of the impact of TAP on student test score gains. Our data has some unique features, including fall to spring test score gains as the dependent variable of interest, and measuring using a fall to spring test score gain, opposed to, say, a spring to spring test score gain, which is typically used in the literature, eliminates the impact of summer learning can play in an evaluation of this nature. We also investigate the notion of selectivity. That is, are there characteristics of TAP schools that we do not observe in our data that make TAP schools fundamentally different in some respect from non-TAP schools that may explain the impact of the program? Our study has limitations that are important to acknowledge as well. Our sample of TAP schools is small, ranging from 6 schools in the 2002-03 school year to approximately 28 schools in the 2005-06 school year. Test score gains for 2nd, 9th, and 10th grade are available in only one of the 2 states in our study. Furthermore, the number of observations in these grades tends to be proportionally smaller than those in 3rd through 8th grade. We also lack information on the fidelity of implementation. That is, have schools actually implemented components of TAP according to the guidelines prescribed by the Milk and Family Foundation. We lack information on variation in features of TAP programs at the school level. This may include maximum and minimum bonuses and the percent of teachers voting in favor of adoption. The primary data for this study are drawn from the Northwest Evaluation Association's Growth Research Database. All scores reference a single cross-grade equal interval score, which is developed using a 1-parameter Roche model. We supplement this data with publicly available school report card data from the State Department of Education websites and information from the National Center for Education Statistics Common Core of Data. Our sample includes approximately 1,200 schools from 2 states over the 4-year period. I want to briefly discuss our analytic strategy before moving to our findings. First, we implemented a basic OLS regression model that includes characteristics of a school and students. We then use a school fixed effect estimator to account for unobserved characteristics of schools that may explain selection in a TAP as well as achievement. Our third specification was a two-stage selection correction model, which stems from work in the late 1970s by James Heckman. We control for quite a few variables in our models that I'll discuss as well, and why they play an important role in this type of analysis. In addition to controlling for a vector of demographic variables that include anything from average teacher salary, student-teacher ratio, student race and ethnicity, student gender, percent in free reduced price lunch, we also estimate separate equations for each grade, since mean gains can vary substantially by grade, and the effect of the covariates may also differ by grade. When pooled across years, for example, the average fall to spring gain score ranges from 2.26 points to 13.79 points in our data. The magnitude of the fall to spring gain score decreases over time from low to high grades, with the average 8th grade gain about half the size of the average 3rd grade gain. All models include what we call year effects to take into consideration changes in the NWA assessment used to generate our measure of student growth. This approach also controls for changes in how well aligned the test is with the curriculum and student cohort effects from one year to the next, because we estimate a model for each grade separately. Furthermore, the year effect is important since the TAP sample in the state changes from one year to the next as NWA picks up more schools that use their assessment. The number of days elapsed between fall and spring test administration also varies considerably by school. When pooled across all years, the average time elapsed between fall and spring assessment days is between fall and spring assessments is about 215 days in TAP schools and 193 days in non-TAP schools. Recognizing gains are positively correlated with time elapsed since the previous assessment, we include a time elapsed variable in all model specifications. Finally, we include what we call our NWA cohort effect. We believe the more exposure we have to NWA tests, the higher we expect test score gains to be. That's because the longer schools have used the NWA test, the better teachers may be able to prepare students for those tests. The basic OLS regression estimates reveal a positive TAP of treatment effect on student test score gains in 2nd through 6th and 8th grade level models as shown in red. Those are statistically significant. There is no TAP effect in 7th, 9th, and 10th grade level models as shown in the gray bars on the charts in front of you. In the 2nd through 6th and 8th grade level models, the TAP treatment effect is equivalent to about 15 to 37% of the average yearly test score gain in non-TAP schools. This is not trivial. However, it's important to remember that these estimates do not address the potential non-random selection process into the TAP program. We therefore turn to estimation strategies that can control for unobservable variables of schools who join TAP. After differencing out time and variance school characteristics that may explain selection into TAP, what we call the fixed effect model, a clear division arises between elementary and secondary grades. 2 of 7 grade level models that indicated a positive TAP effect no longer yield a positive TAP treatment effect. These are the 6th and 8th grade level models. The 6th grade level model indicates a negative TAP effect on student test score gains, while the 8th grade level model is not statistically different from 0. Also, the school fixed effect model, we have a negative TAP treatment effect in the 7th, 9th, and 10th grade level models. Now, when we turn to the two-stage selection correction model, our results are qualitatively similar to those of the school fixed effect estimates. We do not find a TAP treatment effect at the 6th grade level or higher, while 9th and 10th grade level models reveal statistically significant and negative TAP treatment effect. We find a positive TAP effect in 2nd, 4th, and 5th grades, while the TAP effect is not different from 0 in the 3rd grade level model. To hurry up here, as I know I have about 2 minutes left, I just want to briefly touch upon some alternative runs that we did to further explore our findings. It may be the case that our school fixed effect estimate results are sensitive to the fact that about 20% of our TAP school sample does not change TAP status during the sample period. This means that school's contribution to the estimated TAP effect is not included when we use school fixed effects. To check this, we checked if the usual interpretation of fixed effect results is correct by dropping these schools and rerunning the OLS regression models using what we'll call this restricted sample. We focus on the OLS regression models since these are the models where we did originally find the positive TAP effect. Interestingly, results are very similar to our original findings with OLS estimates using data from the complete sample, leading us to believe that the original difference between the OLS and fixed effects models was due to the inclusion of a school fixed effect, not to the loss of TAP school observations. And finally, both fixed effect estimates and the selection correction model estimates rest on the assumption that selection into TAP is a function of time invariant characteristics of the school. If this is not the case and participation is influenced by transitory changes in test scores, estimated TAP effects could be biased by what we call regression to the mean. We test for this by including an indicator variable that we call new TAP, as defined by schools in their first year of implementation. This variable could also pick up implementation problems and first-year bugs in starting up. Interestingly, it appears that TAP is somewhat more successful in its first years than later years, considering estimates on the TAP coefficient remain qualitatively similar to the previous estimates. My conclusion slide. I was a slide ahead there, I guess. To conclude our present study findings on the impact of TAP on student test score gains in math in 2 states, when estimation methods control for selection bias, there appears to be a positive TAP effect at the elementary grade level, but most estimates for grades 6 through 10 turn insignificant and sometimes negatively so. Our study may be strengthened if we had information on fidelity of implementation and on variation in features of TAP programs at the school level. Finally, in light of the conversations that we also had earlier today, I think it's important to note that we have investigated only one aspect of the TAP reform model in these 2 states. While student achievement is ultimately the outcome of interest, we have not determined whether TAP has altered teacher recruitment and retention, which is a foundational component of it, or has it altered the instructional practice of teachers.
A working paper and the PowerPoint slides used in this presentation are available on the National Center on Performance Incentive website.